You don't become a plumber because you dreamed about it as a kid. You become a plumber because someone handed you a wrench and said, "Get under there." Maybe it was your uncle. Maybe it was a buddy who got you on the crew. Maybe you just needed a job, any job, that didn't involve a name tag and fluorescent lights. But however it started in a crawl space, or a basement, or behind a restaurant at 6 a.m., scraping grease off frozen valves with numb fingers. That's plumbing. Not blueprints and copper fittings, just cold mornings, tight spaces, and water where it shouldn't be. You start out hauling buckets and cutting pipe. You hold the flashlight, you get soaked, you learn to keep your mouth shut and your eyes open. Nobody cares what you think. You're the helper. You're the one who forgets the tool and hears about it for a week. You're the one who gets sent back to the truck again and again. And the smell? It never fully leaves you? You tell yourself it's temporary, that once you get licensed, things will change. That you won't be the one crawling under rotted floorboards or digging through sewer sludge. But the truth is, everyone crawls, even the masters. Because pipe doesn't care how many years you've been in. Pipe breaks when it wants. And when it breaks, someone's gotta fix it. Usually it's you. You work in silence most of the time, sweat in your eyes, dirt in your shirt, your knees on old concrete, your back curled into a human question mark. You learn to diagnose leaks by smell. You learn to listen to old valves like a mechanic listens to an engine. You learn that most people don't care about what you do until their toilet backs up on Christmas Eve. That's when they call. That's when you matter. And they always expect it fixed fast. Cheap too. They don't see the hours, the late nights, the weekends. They just see a guy with a tool bag and assume it's easy. As if unclogging a school bathroom at 2 a.m. is some relaxing puzzle. You start losing track of time. You come home with sore wrists and stained shirts. Your knuckles are always scraped. Your hands start to look older than your face. You drink coffee at odd hours. You forget what day it is. You stop making weekend plans because you never know when the next emergency will hit. And even then, you're supposed to be grateful. Grateful you have work. Grateful you make more than someone in a cubicle. Grateful you're not stuck flipping burgers. But the truth is, plumbing doesn't just take your time. It takes your body. It takes your dignity some days. It takes pieces of you slowly, job by job, until you're not sure what version of yourself is left standing in the mirror when you wipe the grime off your face. And that's just the beginning. Most people look at a leak and see a drip. You see a timeline of neglect. You walk into homes where the walls are swollen from water damage, where the mold's been spreading behind cabinets for years. You smell it before you see it. The soft rot, the slow disaster. They call you when it's already too late, then blame you for how much it'll cost to fix. You get good at nodding, at letting them rant, at pretending you didn't just crawl through their attic and find dead rats next to busted fittings. You don't mention the 1970s copper that's corroded to dust. You just give them the number and wait for the silence. Because that's the job too, carrying people's panic. Plumbing isn't just wrenches and tape. It's walking into chaos and being the one who has to act like it's all solvable. Burst pipe in a dentist office? You're there. Flooded basement in the middle of dinner? You're on your way. Kid flushed a toy down the main line again? You're already under the house with a headlamp and a pair of gloves that won't survive the night. And no one ever really understands what you're doing. They stand over your shoulder asking if it's almost done while you're waist deep in a crawl space wondering if that smell is mildew or something worse. They act shocked at the quote, like fixing decades of ignored problems should cost less than a pair of sneakers. Sometimes you wonder if they think you're making it up, as if water damage is optional, as if you set the prices just to screw them. They don't see the tools you bought out of pocket, the hours you spent learning systems older than your grandfather, the insurance you carry just in case one of these nightmares turns into a lawsuit. They don't see what it does to your body either. They don't see how your back locks up after lifting a cast iron pipe alone, or how your wrists ache every time you twist a stubborn fitting. They don't see the permanent grooves in your knuckles from years of wrench work, or the numbness in your fingers that never quite goes away. You start to see things differently. You can't walk into a restaurant without noticing the plumbing, can't sit down in someone's house without glancing under their sink. You see danger where they see drywall. You see pressure points, weak joints, failures waiting to happen. You see what's hidden, and that's the worst part. Because you know, no matter how good you are, no matter how fast you fix it, it'll break again. Somewhere else, some other day. And when it does, they'll call you like it's your fault. You don't clock out from plumbing? Not really. You try to relax, but your knees still feel like gravel. You sit down at home and your spine protests. Your elbows are cooked. Your wrists buzz at night like they're holding phantom wrenches. You sleep light because your phone might ring with another leak, another burst, another basement turning into a pond. You try not to resent it, After all, this is the life you chose. Or maybe it's the life that chose you, slowly, one job at a time, until you couldn't imagine doing anything else. But that doesn't mean it doesn't wear you down. You wake up sore, every day. Not gym sore, injury sore. The kind that lingers, creeps, settles into joints, and never fully goes away. You stretch, you ice, you pretend it's fine. And then you go lift a 40-pound drain snake because someone's kid flushed a Matchbox car again. No one talks about how physical this job is. You're crawling under foundations, hauling tools, climbing ladders in freezing rain, yanking old pipe that fights you the whole way. You're breathing in God knows what, getting soaked with fluid you don't ask questions about, and working through smells that stay in your nose long after you've showered twice. And God help you if the job's in summer. There's nothing like sweating through your coveralls in a 120-degree attic while trying not to pass out. Or crouching in a crawl space so tight you can't turn your head, feeling the air get thinner by the second while spiders run across your forearm. You toughen up, but the job still gets in. Your hands crack in winter, your fingernails are never clean. You get used to pain until something new shows up. A hip twinge, a shoulder you can't fully lift. Your grip's weaker than it used to be. You hide it. You keep working. Because you don't get paid to complain. You get paid to fix. You keep tools in your trunk because emergencies don't care what day it is. Your phone buzzes during dinner and suddenly you're sliding on boots again. You're the guy people call when everything goes wrong, and they always expect you to say yes. So you do. You leave half-eaten meals, you skip holidays, you say, "I'll be home soon," and sometimes don't make it back until morning. And when you finally crash, you dream in blueprints and flooded basements. That's how deep this job gets. Not just in your bones, but in your brain. You could be the reason someone's house didn't flood last night. You could have pulled a dead pump out of a basement at 3 a.m., saved a daycare from black water overflow, stopped a mainline burst before it wrecked a dental office's entire first floor. But nobody cares. Not really. They remember the invoice, not the rescue. They remember the smell, not the hours you spent crawling through it. You're just the plumber. A utility. Something they call when their world's falling apart, then forget the second it's fixed. And the worst part? You're always available, even when you shouldn't be. Holidays, birthdays, anniversaries. You've taken calls during them all. You've stood outside in the snow while your daughter blew out candles without you. You've left dinner plates cold because someone flushed something they shouldn't have, and now it's an emergency. You always say yes, because if you don't, someone else will. The job owns your schedule. It dictates your weekends, it decides when you sleep, and it never apologizes. You wake up with back spasms and still crawl under a trailer because it's either that or lose a client. You can't afford to say no. And yet, despite all of it, the chaos, the gross, the endless interruptions, there's this weird assumption that what you do isn't skilled, that it's basic, that anyone could do it with a YouTube tutorial and a Home Depot trip. Until they try. And then, they call you in anyway, usually after they've made it worse. They ask, "You really need to charge that much?" As if they didn't just flood their kitchen with an off-brand wrench and a half-empty bottle of pipe dope. They wince at labor costs like you're gouging them for trying to keep their floors from rotting. You stop taking it personal, mostly. But some days, it gets to you. The way you're treated like background. Like the dirt that came with the leak. You're essential when things break, invisible when they don't. Even friends joke. So you deal with poop all day, huh? Like you don't rebuild systems, reroute flow, protect buildings from collapse. Like you're not walking around with knowledge that keeps civilization running. Because that's what plumbing is. Quiet infrastructure, buried responsibility, and nobody respects it until they're ankle deep in it. You never set out to be a hero. You just wanted steady work, a way to pay the bills, a skill that meant something. And now, years later, here you are, with the knees of a man twice your age and a lower back that screams when you bend the wrong way. Your hands are strong but stiff. Your mornings start slow. Your evenings end earlier than they used to. Some days you still smell like pipe dope and wet drywall hours after you've showered. But the phone keeps ringing, and you keep answering. You've lost count of how many leaks you've patched, how many toilets you've reset, how many miles of pipe you've cut, sealed, replaced. You've seen the inside of mansions and motels, luxury condos, and roach-filled basements. You've worked in silence while families argued over what went wrong. You've seen panic, frustration, sometimes gratitude, but mostly just expectation. Plumbers don't get glory. You're not on the front page. You're not trending. There's no audience clapping when you finish repiping a water heater at midnight. And that's the point, isn't it? You're part of the world that keeps things moving, quietly, constantly, without thanks. You don't do it for applause. You do it because someone has to. But it wears on you. The physical toll, the missed moments, the way no one seems to understand how much you give just to keep other people's lives from falling apart. It's not just the job, it's the life. Always alert, always ready, always behind someone else's wall, fixing what no one sees until it breaks. And when it breaks again, they'll call like they always do, and you'll show up like you always have. Because that's what you do. That's what it means to be a plumber. You hold the line beneath the surface, and nobody notices until the water rises.